A couple months ago, I got my probably favorite GoPro camera up to date, the GoPro Hero 10. Now, this has been an incredible camera specifically for our Spain trip, and it is probably also going to be really cool for upcoming trips as well. Now, at the time, I also got the Media Mod as well as the Super View lens. Now, over the last few months, I had a good chance to work with all of these things, and I want to give you a bit of an idea or a couple of thoughts around these different pieces, as well as something that GoPro just recently released, and in some ways, I have some issues with these things. First up, the GoPro Hero 10 is an incredible camera. The stabilization is something that I have never seen on any other camera to the degree that this can do it. And of course, also the horizon leveling, which is part of the stabilization, is just insane. Now, I saw something similar in the GoPro Hero Max, but the Hero Max is due to an update, hopefully sometime soon, maybe later this year, because the resolution you can cut out of the Max is just far less than what you get with this camera at 5.3K. Now, all of those things are great. This is a powerful camera with great resolution and frame rates. However, what about those accessories? Now, one of the first and most obvious accessories that I picked up was this one right here. This is the GoPro Media Mod. And basically what this does is it slides around the camera, and then you have a dedicated microphone built into the Media Mod right here, which supposedly gives you better audio than if you use the built-in microphones of the camera itself. You also have two cold shoe mounting positions that you, for example, can add lights or external microphones. And right here on the back, you actually have these ports to connect different other things. Like, for example, with USB-C, you can charge it right there or connect it to your computer. And you have a headphone or microphone jack rather, and you have a micro HDMI port. Now, a couple of things that are just super annoying about this Media Mod is that, in my experience, this microphone isn't necessarily better than the built-in microphone, and I would basically only use the Media Mod with an extra microphone on top of here, like for example the Rode Video Mic Go 2 that I've been testing recently, and that slides on here quite nicely. But of course then you have to work with the microphone potentially being visible in the shot, depending on how wide a field of view you are using. Which is one of the main reasons why the most useful microphone that I have found to be able to put it on here is actually the Rode Wireless Go. Just slide it in there, and then you have your microphone connected to yourself, and ideally, or in some circumstances, you also have a second person with the second wireless transmitter. Now on the back, you can connect that microphone to the camera, and that way you have the audio recorded into the camera straight away. Now, the micro HDMI port on the Media Mod is a questionable situation because the Media Mod is relatively expensive in comparison to the implementation that I find is done here. Specifically with the HDMI port, you're able to just view your footage, and you then also can see what the camera sees. However, you will have to go through multiple steps to actually get there, and you actually also are going to have different kinds of things showing up on the screen, and then you can kind of like make them go away with multiple button presses and all of that. It's really complicated. Now, what I wanted to see with the HDMI port on this is that I can put this camera into this cage, put it onto a tripod around my studio, and then just simply turn it on and have it basically show me the video feed either on my computer when it's connected via the webcam, like a Camlink or something similar, or when I connect it to something like the Atomos Ninja V for recording. So that's something where I think it could just simply be improved to give me a setting to be able to basically say, by default, when you go into HDMI mode, just go into that live view with no other things visible on the screen. Now, this HDMI live view, when you are using that with the camera to see what the camera sees, is also not really that great in terms of the resolutions that the camera can record internally. So it might be helpful in some situations to do some framing or see in a bigger way what the camera is seeing, but still record internally. So that might be a better choice there. Now, the other gripe that I have with the Media Mod is the way that it is actually connecting to the camera. And for the most part, you take off this piece right here. So the battery door goes off. And with that, the camera is also no longer waterproof when you are using the media mod. And that's something that I'm willing to give up, basically. But then you also open the door here on the media mod. You slide the camera in there. And once the camera is inside of the media mod, you can close the door again. And with that, it is all nice and packaged. However, how do you actually connect something or hold the camera? For that, of course, you have the feet right here. And then you can, for example, connect this tripod adapter. The bad thing here, however, is that you actually have to basically pinch through here to actually get the feet out so that they are visible or workable, and then you can kind of connect something there. And I have no idea why they actually went with this instead of, for example, giving the media mod its own feet, because the thing that happens when you actually have these feet pulled out and you actually have something connected here, let's say I want to push this in. And now if I want to take out the camera, I actually have to open the media mod. I have to take off whatever accessory or holder I have on the bottom, flip the pieces in here, take it out, then I can take out the battery, and then I can put it all back together, push this in, close the door, put the feet out and kind of like get those out, and then reconnect the camera to whatever tripod or hand holding I have on hand. Now, I have no idea why GoPro didn't just, as I've mentioned, put some feet here, right there onto the media mod itself, so that I could just keep this connected, open the door, and have the camera out with no issues whatsoever. I have no idea why they didn't do that. It is incredibly frustrating to have to basically take apart the whole setup just to be able to replace the battery. Now, GoPro might have you believe that there's actually a solution to this problem, and they're also going to sell you a product for it. And that product is called the Volta. Volta is essentially a camera grip tripod remote situation. And with a cable, you can actually connect the Volta grip to the camera. And you can see right here, basically you have that coiled cable there on the side, and you can connect that to the GoPro Hero 10. And then you actually have remote control for the camera with the buttons right here on the Volta. You have a somewhat tripod-y situation that you can set the camera off to the ground and, for example, film yourself. And you also have some connection ports on the sides where you can, for example, put a light or something similar. I have a feeling that GoPro is over-engineering their solutions because, similar to this here, you also have a bunch of different strange things happening with the Volta. I have seen a couple of videos where people basically said that if you want to have the buttons, for example, in the front, then the cable kind of like wraps around the whole thing, and it is not necessarily a nice experience having that coiled cable going into the camera onto the side. Of course, if you also want to use the media mod, then the cable goes into the back. However, the other thing that I find here is that this Volta grip, again, is something that makes the camera no more waterproof. It might give you more charge because the whole grip basically is a battery, so that you have about 4 or 5 hours of charge for the GoPro itself. You also have the ability to remote control it with the buttons. Overall, I just don't necessarily understand why GoPro keeps over-engineering solutions for problems where I have a feeling there would be easier solutions. Like, for example, the media mod not being able to just take the camera out of there and being able to just replace the battery without having to take apart your whole setup. Now, overall, I still think that right now GoPro has the best action camera. However, they are also in fierce competition, and there are more and more companies, especially on the 360 market, for example, offering other solutions. And those other companies are not sleeping on the action camera market either. They have solutions there as well. And I think that GoPro really has to step up their game and potentially make solutions that are actually useful again. Not something like the media mod where you have to take apart the whole camera, as I've mentioned many times throughout this video. The Volta in that regard is a solution to a problem that I'm not sure if it actually existed. It might be nice to use and be able to have a remote control and tripod and all of those things, but it doesn't give you a lot of reach in terms of the tripod. So that's something that I would want to have, to be able to hold the camera further out and have more of the action in the frame. It gives you a bigger battery and longer runtimes for your GoPro, but at the same time, it's also going to cut down on the water resistance because you have something connected to the USB-C port. And if you really want to have a remote, then there is a smaller remote available, which you can use to simply just control the camera, put it wherever you need it, and have it that way, without having a whole tripod attached to your remote at all times. So to wrap things up, I'm still going to continue using the Hero 10, despite having all of these different annoyances with it. It is still an incredible action camera, but I have a feeling that GoPro really has to step up their game to keep the competition at bay. And especially with the accessories, there's a lot to be desired. Now, with all that said, what are your thoughts on the GoPro Hero 10? And are you using this camera with these mods, or do you have a completely different setup? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you liked this video and was helpful in some kind of way, please give it a thumbs up. That's always greatly appreciated. And with all that said, have an amazing day, make it your life, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.